Hello everyone, my name is Wing and I just wing it. And today's video I'm excited to talk about the new camera that I've been dreaming to have for like a year or so, and now I finally have it. The Sony A7C. So like I said, I finally bought my dream camera, which is the A7C, in the year 2021. Now you might ask, why not wait for the A7 IV, which is just around the corner? Well, I just needed a main camera that is full frame and not too expensive, so I can carry it and beat it around and not worry so much about it. Well, I'm not saying that if I break my A7C, I won't get sad. I will get sad if I break my A7C, but I'm not gonna be too devastated compared to having a $3,500 full frame camera, and it's easier for me to get another camera. If I break my A7C, I can just get a new one and finance it rather than financing a very expensive camera, if you get what I'm saying. So my first impression of this camera right out of the box is its size. It's a full frame camera that is fitted on an APS-C body, much like my A6600, as you can see here side by side. It's lightweight, about I believe 509 grams or so, which is great for traveling, minimalist carry, or run and gun setup. When you first take this camera out of the box, you might notice some jiggling noise if you shake it. If you can hear that, don't be alarmed, but that's just the sensor that is moving around in the IBIS space of the camera. Once you turn it on, it will activate that and it will stop the jiggling noise, because now the gimbal, or not the gimbal, but the in-body image stabilization is now active, so it should be fine. That's just, the space of that, so it just wiggles because now it's turned off, so it's just loose inside, but it's normal, so don't worry about that. Speaking of IBIS, once you turn on your camera, you can go to your menu and activate the steady shot. It will just stabilize your footage once you're filming handheld, and it will just, it's not like a gimbal smoothness, but it will actually help on the shakiness of your footage if you're filming handheld. And this camera actually record gyro data, which you can take the footage and put it on a catalyst browse and just convert it, and it will smooth out the image or the footage for you. But for me, I don't really rely on that gyro data, because I much prefer using a gimbal, and I don't want to take that extra step to convert my video files and put it back and edit it. It's just an extra step for me, so that's just my preference. I rather use gimbal and smooth out my footage out of the bat. Now, I really love the silver top color in this. It has that retro design characteristic in it. Plus, they added that record button on the top, which is nice, easy and accessible to press, not like the other Sony bodies where it's placed on a very awkward location. I like the way it's built. It's made of metal and high quality materials, and it feels very durable. The grip actually feels comfortable for me, but then coming from an APS-C size shooter, I'm used to smaller grip cameras anyways. So if you want a bigger grip, you can always buy and add on accessories for it, like the small rig cage or something. Now, from what most people adore about this camera is the flip-out rotating LCD screen. And this is really great for vloggers. But for me, if I'm vlogging, I prefer the flip-up screen rather than the flip-out screen. I think it's just easy for me to glance up on my framing rather than on the side, and that's just my preference anyways, so that's up to you. But most people like the flip out screen. Aside from vlogging though, the flip out LCD screen is very useful to have, especially when you're taking that unique shot, because you can freely articulate the screen to different angles that you need when you're monitoring your film or your shot. So when you're filming or you're taking a photo, you can monitor it in a different angle, the way you want it to be, so it's easier for you to see your framing. Plus, when you're done filming, you can rotate the LCD screen and fold it back in this position where it protects the LCD screen from being scratched for storage. Although every time I have my camera, I always install a screen protector here. It's just nice to know that you can do that. So I thought I'd just put it out there. And what I like about this camera, as you can see, it has its own barn doors for each ports, which is kind of neat. So whatever ports you are using at that time, that's the only ports are exposed, while the other ports remain covered and protected from dust or other elements that can get inside your camera. Plus, it doesn't really interfere with the flip out LCD screen, which is really nice. And over here is the battery compartment. It takes NZ batteries, which lasts a little longer compared to NPF batteries, which is really good when filming a long period of time. And here is the reason why I got this camera, is its sensor size. Full frame sensor are bigger than APS-C sensor, which is better in low light performance because it allows more light to come in and hit the sensor, and also give you more dynamic range and better bokeh or background blur that makes your footage look more cinematic. And this camera has an advanced hybrid autofocusing system, which is reliable and fast autofocusing. With the real-time human/animal eye autofocus and face detection autofocus helps maintain focus on your subject's eye. A7C also features spot focusing and tracking autofocus. Spot focus is mostly used when you're filming one subject and rack focusing to another. And track focusing is useful when filming or capturing a moving subject like sports and wildlife photography. You just touch a subject on the screen and it locks into it. Now, this camera also has a Super 35 mode, which allows you to switch from full frame to APS-C mode sensor. And also, because this is a Sony, they only use one mount, which is the E mount. APS-C lenses and full frame lenses are interchangeable on this body. So once you switch this one to APS-C mode, you can actually optimize the APS-C lenses with this one if you decide to carry lightweight setup, so which is really good to have. That's why I love this camera. And on that note, you can actually punch in on your full frame size lenses to APS-C mode. So once you're on APS-C mode, you can punch in a little bit tighter on your full frame lenses because of that 1.5 crop factor. So it will give you a tighter shot, or you can get that, closer shot if you need it to be. So how cool is that, knowing that you have that versatility and flexibility having this camera with you. Another good thing about this camera is that its file size, it's still feasible to edit, unlike the higher end camera, which is the A7S3 or the FX3, or maybe the new camera that is coming up, the A7 IV. I don't know about that really because I don't have one. So if you have a bigger file size, I don't know how your computer will handle the editing process. But for the A7C, I don't have any problem with editing. So anyways, amongst the goodness of this camera and how great it is and all the features that it has, I know you'll probably be asking what are the flaws of this camera, the cons, the bad, whatever. For me, to be honest, I can't say any negative about this camera because I love it so much. It doesn't really bother me. There's some minor things, but it's not a big deal for me. But I just wanted to put it out there in case if you are wondering what are those cons or bad. They're not really good. I mean, they're not really bad. It's not a big deal for me. It doesn't bother me at all. But if you want to like to know it, here it is. Alright, first is the viewfinder. As you can see, it's really small. It doesn't feel comfortable when you're using it because it doesn't have that eye cups, so it's really hard to rest on your eyes. And looking through the viewfinder is kind of like looking through a sniper scope. You have to center your eyes so you can see very well, and it's kind of annoying. Otherwise, it's gonna be like a blur on around the edges. So that's that. And they also say that the resolution of the viewfinder is not really great. I don't really see any difference, but for me, I don't really use this viewfinders because I always use the LCD screen because I take video most of my project. So, and even though if I take pictures, I still use the LCD screen. I just don't use the viewfinder. And also, as you can see here, this camera doesn't have a lot of customized buttons or custom buttons, unlike the A6600 or its predecessor, the A7C. A lot of people find that more convenient to have, but you can always use the function menu buttons for a quick menu setup. And for me, it's really easy for me to get used to it, so it doesn't really bother me not having a more customizable buttons. And actually, I kind of like it this way when you don't have a lot of buttons to worry about. It's more simplistic design, minimalist. Kind of like it that way, so I don't worry about too many buttons and memorizing to all of those quick menu setup and stuff. So the function buttons works with me very well, and we'll just leave those customizable buttons to cinema line camera. So I think that's the only thing I can find that is bad or flaw. Not really, but something that people might not like. But most of it, this camera is really great. I love it. Now for the big question, who is this camera for? Is this camera right for you? Should you buy the A7C or just get the A7 IV or maybe higher end camera? I don't know. Well, I'll tell you. Well, with all the nice features that I mentioned, such as a compact size, a full frame camera, better in low light, better dynamic range, better color science, better bokeh or background blur, it has a flip out LCD screen, high megapixel, which is great for photos, better autofocus with a spot and tracking, autofocus, gyro data for image stabilization in post, and great for professional work. Flexibility to switch from full frame to APS-C sensor or Super 35 mode, affordable price tags, and many more. So if you're coming from an APS-C or small size form factor camera and looking to upgrade to a full frame, yet you're still concerned about the bulkiness or the how big the camera would be because it's a full frame, well, the A7C is the answer for you. And if you are someone who's looking for a beginning to a mid-tier full frame camera, this is for you. And if you are looking for a full frame size camera which is affordable and getting serious about taking photos or making videos, then this camera is for you. If you're a vlogger, content creator, travel photographer or travel videographer or a filmmaker, and you want the benefit of a Sony full frame in the smallest and lightest form factor, then this camera is great for you. So what I'm trying to say is I highly recommend this camera for everyone. I mean, this camera is great. I tested this camera out there and I really love it. So that's it for today's video. If you make it this far, I really appreciate your patience. You are really great. You're awesome. And like any other video, I am asking for your support. Click that like button if you like it, and subscribe to my channel. Click that bell icon so that it will notify you every time I upload a new video. Until then, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!